You have to go back in there, in that muck, face that muck, fix that. Because what happens is, when I was in Navy SEAL training, one of my jobs was to train guys to get through Navy SEAL training. And I started realizing that I was training these guys, they were getting bigger, stronger, faster, all this other stuff. But they would still quit. All I was doing was building bigger, stronger, faster quitters. And I started down, I was like, what the hell am I doing wrong, man? I was changing all the external crap. I wasn't going into the internal and changing what really matters. So that's what the first step is, and I talk about it a lot in my book about how, like, the steps about doing that, man. But the first step you have to do is face yourself and be accountable for what you're not. So then you can be what you want to be. But first face what you're not. So I like Gary Vee, but I'm not tripling down on strengths. I'm tripling down on weaknesses. Being able to know that your life is jacked up, that we all come from a past that may be bad or good, and to own it, and not to be ashamed of it. To not be afraid for people to judge you. Not care what other people think. To be able to walk around in your own skin and be so comfortable in it that you can write your whole life, all the bad, not the good, all the bad on the billboard, and walk around like this. This is me. That's authenticity to me. And when you get to that point, when you can walk around with those middle fingers up, not really like being mean to people, but saying, judge me, man. This is it. This is who I am, but I'm fixing it. I'm not just letting it it's not defining who I am, but that's a part of my life. And it's just owning who you are and not being ashamed of it.
One thing I found out was for several years I gave myself a way out.
When you were 300 pounds?
When I was 300 pounds, when I was, all the way up until I was 24 years old. I would climb a mountain, I'd fall back down. I start climbing, I fall back down for the first 24 years of my life. I went to my first Hell Week, my second Hell Week, and then my third Hell Week came in SEAL training, and the CEO, Captain Bowen, looked at me. I'm on crutches, I'm all jacked up. He says, hey, this is your last time you're gonna go through buds. This is it. I had several stress fractures. I had double pneumonia, I was jacked up, and he gave me a few months to heal. He said, this is your last time going through. I shouldn't even let you go back through.
Wow.
I started Navy SEAL training with stress fractures. And this is when I started to not put a cap on the body if the mind is there. Every morning I would wake up at 3:30 in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, go to my dive cage, go in there before anybody saw me. I'd get duct tape, and I would tape from my forefoot all the way up to the mid of my calf, and I would put 2 black socks on. And so I ran not using the pivot, and I ran my hip flexors. So for the first 45 minutes to an hour, I was in absolute excruciating pain. But what motivated me through that whole process was the fact that this kid came from that. I'm in the hardest training in the world, in the worst shape of my entire life. What if I can graduate amongst these studs?
Wow.
All these guys around me are studs. They're stallions, they're gladiators in my class. They're all healthy, most of them. They're not broken like this. They may have some, everybody's sick going through that training. Yeah. But if I can graduate, it would change everything for me. If I can start the hardest training in the world, broken, and graduate. So my mind fed off of that. You are now, from the weakest man, you are now the hardest man to ever live. If you walk into any kind of event, whether it be physical or mental, if you walk in with already putting that block on your mind, this ain't gonna happen, people go, how did you run 135 miles to Death Valley? How did you run 100 miles with no training? Because I went into it not thinking, I can't do this, man. I went into it with a strategy. I had an open-mindedness. So until your mind is open to the possibilities that I can do this, you would never be able to do it. Once the mind starts to believe it can be achieved, only then does it start to break down tactically how we can do this. Until then, you're gonna always lose. Our mind wants to protect us. The mind is like, honestly, it has a tactical advantage over us. It knows our deepest, darkest fears or insecurities. It knows where we start to feel, we start getting that doubt creeping that says, hey man, you know what, man, maybe this isn't good. Let's go back home to the wife. Let's go back home to the kids. This is not comfortable. So in that moment, the mind directs us. It's a protective mechanism. It saves us from doing bodily harm, or it really saves us from discovering that the mind's like, I want to be in charge of you. I don't want you to be in charge of me. So it tells you, let's just stop right here. But once you start breaking through that barrier and start breaking down that governor that you've put in your mind, because we forget we are in control of our mind. We believe it's the other way around. No, we put in our minds what we should do, but we believe our mind is telling us, it's giving us all this feedback. We have to reprogram it and tell us, no, we're good. We're good, this sucks, but it's okay.
Don't follow the crowd. It is an important time of your life. This time was the most volatile time of my life. When I was a teenager, man, you think when you're a teenager that is life. Like that, those kids, those people you're around, everything there is your whole entire life. That if you're cool, you gotta fit in, all these things have to happen now in this high school time of life. You're so far from the truth by thinking that, you won't hardly even see these people again. This is a great time for you now to start callousing your mind and figuring out what you want to do with your life. Start to develop your own personality, your dreams, your values, what you want to stand for, standing for yourself, having a moral compass, and big time not following the crowd. But one thing about high school and being a teenager, that is a snapshot of life. But for some reason, when you're a teenager, you believe that these people are going to follow you till you're dead, and they're just your whole life. So understand this, man. I'm 43. I've probably seen 2 people from high school, and that's not on purpose. It's just what it is. Back in the day, it was for the mere fact of I had a lot of motivation, a lot of drive, and a lot of it was just me changing who I was. Now how I stay motivated is I travel around the country and I speak to people, young kids, older people, black, white, from all different races, colors, genders, religions, everything. And my message is always about can't hurt me. Can't hurt me is just about staying true to who you are, staying real. There's so many people that do what I do who are inspirational speakers, motivational speakers, whatever. You put yourself out there like this to be the ultimate leader. People are trying to see what you're talking about and live off your example. What motivates me now, what keeps me going up every day is people who listen to me, people who follow me, people who trust in me, people who want to be better. I have to live by example. So when it's miserable outside, when I don't want to study, when I don't want to even clean my house, make my bed, I will be a liar like I used to be if I'm telling you something that I'm not doing every single day of my life. I have to live by example. I have to live my life. So I couldn't talk to you all today if I didn't have these here following my run. If I didn't run before I talked to you all, I wouldn't have the motivation or the courage to talk to you all, because I would be right now false. I would be lying. So what motivates me now is knowing that I live what I talk about, and that's what it is now. I want to practice what I preach. That's my motivation now. So my book went to book auction, and me being a first-time author, I think I have like 630,000 followers on Instagram. I just started Instagram a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and people, I guess, like my content, because everything I talk about is about getting better. It's never about me kissing my own ass, about getting better. So, long story short, my book went to book auction, and two of the top 5 publishing houses, bid on it, and they both bid, $300,000. And I was going to go to contract with one of them. And for a first-time author, that is a humongous advance. So before I signed the contract, I took that 1 second and it made that 1 second about 5 hours. And I believe in taking a lot of quiet time. We live in a world that moves so fast, and you don't grow with noise. You grow with quiet. Your mind needs to be in a quiet place to grow, to get stronger, to figure out where you want to go in life. So I got real quiet, and I started thinking about my life and everything I'd gone to get where I'm at today. And I turned down that book offer. I turned down at $300,000, and I actually self-published. So I self-published my book. So just to give you a little bit more insight about that, and I financed my own book. So this isn't about money for me. You know, I turned down that money. This is, like I said, my biggest trophy is the life I've lived. I've lived a life that I am finally proud of. I lied about my life for so many years because I wasn't proud. Which is why I can tell you all how jacked up my life used to be. Because I'm now finally proud of it. I don't care if I'm judged. I used to care about being judged. I used to care about what people thought about me. I'm able to tell you anything you want to know about me because I no longer care what you think about me, because I think very highly of myself in the humblest of ways.